from the all-time low of yesterday, gaining 14 paise against the US dollar to close at 77.32. The market, however, expects it to depreciate further in the coming days. Markets in the red for a third consecutive day. Investors lose more than 11 lakh crore in this period. Weak global cues and fears of inflation keep up the pressure. Banking stocks buck the trend today. It was mayhem in the Adani pack. Two of its shares, Adani Wilmar and Power, hit the lower circuit. Adani Wilmar down for the fifth straight day. Adani Transmission, Adani Green down nearly 8%. Adani Enterprises falls 4.5%. Cryptocurrency markets go on a roller coaster ride after falling below the $30,000 mark. Bitcoin rallies, but is still 55% lower than the high of $69,000 it touched just 4.5 months ago. Consumer Affairs Ministry holds meeting with top cab aggregators, including Ola and Uber, amid rise in consumer complaints. Warns of strict action if companies do not improve their system to address the issue. One of the firmest believers in the Indian startup story, Tiger Global Hedge Fund, faces huge losses. Report says $17 billion wiped off the company's holdings in the past 4 months. Economic hardships turn into white rage in Sri Lanka as former Prime Minister Mahindra Rajapaksa is forced to flee to a naval base. He had to be rescued by the military in a pre-dawn operation. Homes of more than 40 lawmakers have been torched. But first, if you think the price hike in cooking oils had bruised your domestic budget, stand by for more pain. With wheat exports from powerhouse markets, Russia and Ukraine, drying up because of the war, it's the humble atta which is set to deliver the real blow.
Your weekend outing is probably costing you a lot more. It's not only the fuel where you are spending more, your shopping bill has increased without you knowing about it. And now prepare for a big hike in restaurant bills. Atta, the most commonly used food item in the Indian kitchen, has seen a massive surge in prices. The All India monthly average retail price of wheat flour was 32 rupees 78 paise per kilo this weekend, the highest since January 2010. A year-on-year price analysis shows the prices have grown 9.15% in 1 year. The highest price is in Port Blair, where atta costs 59 rupees a kilo. The lowest, 22 rupees a kilo, is in West Bengal's Purulia. Elsewhere in Mumbai, it is at 49 per kilo, while Chennai residents have to shell out 34 rupees a kilo. Delhiites have it comparatively easy at 27 rupees a kilo. The impact is not only on restaurant bills. The double whammy of increasing flour prices and the already inflated cooking oil prices has affected bakery products, bread and biscuits as well. FMCG giants like Parle and Britannia are not only considering hiking prices, but also reducing the weight of some of its packets for those unable to take a price rise hit. So why this sudden spurt in wheat and atta prices? Wheat procurement by government agencies has been considerably low this year. This is largely due to a surge in export demand, with Indian traders trying to replace global supplies hit by the war in Ukraine. According to reports, private buyers are paying anywhere up to 250 rupees a quintal above the MSP of 2015 rupees to back stocks for their overseas contracts. The result is shocking. This year, the government will likely be able to procure just 42% of what it had bought last year. Even the wheat stock is much lower than what it was for the past 2 years. Hit by the changing reality, the government in fact plans to replace the wheat it distributes at rupees 2 per kilo in PDS shops with extra stocks of rice. It's been one whammy after another for policy mandarins in North Bloc. The war in Ukraine and its seismic economic reverberations all over the world have thrown all estimates and plans out of the window. The worst is clearly not over for the consumer who is facing the worst of times in recent history. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
While prices of daily items are already skyrocketing, consumers may have to shell out even more. FMCG major Dabur is mulling another round of price hikes to offset the impact of an unprecedented level of inflation in commodity prices such as wheat, palm oil and packaging materials. My colleague Sakshi Batra caught up with Dabur CFO Ankush Jain. Listen into an excerpt.
Talking about the high inflationary pressures, and that has been a concern in this previous quarter. Could you also help us understand, do you anticipate input cost pressures to also continue as we move forward in Q1 and the further quarters as well? And if there are any steps that you're taking to mitigate these risks?
Sure. Definitely, Sakshi, the inflation pressures continue. Inflation is unabated. It continues to be almost nearing double digit for our business, on top of near double digits, meaning 2 years of 20% inflation, which is really high. At least we have not seen it in 40 or 50 years and globally. Even as per government data, WPI also touched 14.5% in April. So it is the biggest concern as we speak. And therefore, we expect there would be margin pressures in the near term. However, having said that, our intent is clearly to at least protect our operating margins on a yearly level. But as I said, near term, there would be pressure. We are taking a couple of steps. We would be, taking calibrated price increases across our portfolio. So we match our, portfolio to portfolio where we can take price increases because our brands have pricing power. We have taken almost 5 to 6% price increases in last 1 year.
Right.
And we would continue to evaluate that depending on competitive intensity.
So help me understand on the price hike front, sir. You did say 5 to 6% price hike was done in this last year. If you could help us, with the visibility on the quantum, what could we expect going forward from here, even if it is going to be calibrated and spread across several quarters of the new financial year? How can we expect and what will be the quantum?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. Penning down an exact number or an approximate number at this point of time is difficult because we are still evaluating. The environment is very volatile, and uncertain also because of geopolitical situation, the inflationary pressures. But having said that, we would be, depending on the situation, again, we would have to probably take a similar level of price increases even in the current year, 4 to 5%. If need be, we can take it further or, depending on cost pressures, we are flexible on that.
The Indian economy is currently facing high underlying inflation, largely driven by rising fuel and food prices, ringing alarm bells in Delhi's North Block and Mumbai's Mint Street. And now, according to Reuters' poll, retail inflation has likely surged to an 18-month high in April. Food inflation reached a multi-month high in March and is expected to remain elevated due to higher vegetable and cooking oil prices globally. These factors pushed inflation in Asia's third largest economy to 7.5% on an annual basis in April. That's the highest inflation rate since October 2020 and well above the RBI's upper 6% limit for the fourth straight month. With no quick fix in sight, experts believe that the current cycle of inflation is likely to be long and grim. The retail inflation reading for the month of April is due on May 12th. After starting the day on a strong footing, markets were unable to hold on to gains, stumbling for a third consecutive session. The 3-day market mayhem has wiped out 11.4 lakh crore rupees from investors' wealth. In a volatile day of trade, Sensex swung between gains and losses to finally settle in the red, falling 106 points to shut shop at 54,365. Nifty 2 declined 200 points from the day's high to settle below 16,250. Metal and realty counters dragged the indices lower towards the end of the session. Broader markets too ended with huge gashes. Market sentiment remains fragile amid concerns over inflation, economic growth and mixed bag Q4 earnings. Among blue chip names, Coal India, Tata Steel, ONG, JSW Steel and Hindalco were among the top losers. It was mayhem in the Adani pack. Two of the company's shares, Adani Wilmar and Adani Power, hit the lower circuit. Adani Wilmar was down for the fifth straight day. Adani Transmission and Adani Green were down nearly 8%. Adani Enterprises too fell over 4%. Gautam Adani's wealth also fell in tandem with the company's stocks. In one of the worst wealth routs, Adani's wealth has declined about $10 billion in the past 15 days. Adani's wealth hit a high of $125 billion on April 26 when he took over Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, to claim the fifth spot in the billionaire club. Asian Paints rallied in trade, gaining about 3%. This even after the company reported no growth in profit due to higher input costs. Asian Paints reported a lower than expected net profit at 874 crore rupees in Q4 on account of a one-time loss witnessed in its Sri Lanka business. While the revenues were up over 18% year-on-year, margins took a beating. The domestic decorative business grew strongly, registering 8% volume growth. Tiger Global, one of the world's top hedge funds with a considerable exposure to Indian startups, may have lost as much as $17 billion in this year's technology sell-off. According to calculations by LCH Investments, the loss has wiped out about two-thirds of its gains since launch in 2001. Till recently, the fund managed about $90 billion in assets. The fund had lost 7% of its value in 2021, the first since 2016. The hedge fund is particularly active in India, having invested in several startups over the years like Flipkart, Ola, Grofers, Delivery, Myntra, Arthur Energy, Savan and Urban Company. According to some reports, the hedge fund has invested more than $12 billion in the Indian startup ecosystem since 2015. In other corporate news, shares of Sun Pharma tanked in trade after the US health regulator issued 10 observations post-inspection of the pharma company's Halol-based manufacturing plant in Gujarat. The US FDA had conducted a good manufacturing practices inspection at Sun Pharma's facility, which concluded yesterday. The pharma major will submit a response to the US FDA in 15 days. Now you can get RT-PCR results in just 45 minutes. Yes, Cipla's new real-time COVID-19 RT-PCR test kit will deliver faster results. The RT Direct Multiplex RT-PCR test kit will be released in partnership with Genis2Me. The test kit has been validated by an ICMR-approved center. And in good news for depositors, country's largest lender, State Bank of India, has hiked interest rates on domestic bulk term deposits. The rates have been hiked by 40 to 90 basis points for deposits of 2 crore rupees and above. The new rates are in force from today. The revised rates of interest shall be made applicable to fresh deposits and renewals of maturing deposits. Razorpay offers $75 million ESOP buyback bonanza for 650 employees. The purchase will be led by Lightspeed Venture Partners along with participation from more strategic ventures. This is the company's largest ESOP buyback program to date. Mercedes-Benz new generation C-Class drives into the Indian market. The prices will start at 55 lakhs and go up to 61 lakhs for the top-end model. The C-Class has been on sale in India since 2001, and this is the fifth generation model that comes to India. Mercedes has begun assembling the new C-Class at its plant in Maharashtra, and pre-bookings for the luxury sedan have begun as well. Let's take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss cryptocurrencies.
Do you remember the fictional planet Pandora from the blockbuster movie Avatar? Hold that thought. because this is not Earth. It's not from a movie. This is Earth's clone called Titan. It is real and it is very much here in our solar system. Titan is not a planet like Earth, but a moon in the Saturn system. Saturn has a total of 82 moons which revolve around it. Of these, Titan is the largest. Well, there are no reports or studies to confirm whether Titan has the kind of conditions shown in Pandora with those glittering lights or floating hills, but Titan does have rivers, lakes and seas filled by rain which come through a thick atmosphere similar to what Earth experiences. Titan is the only celestial body besides Earth to have liquid on its surface. New research reveals the presence of landscapes on the surface of this moon. Titan has streams of liquid methane and winds of nitrogen gas, which build hydrocarbon sand dunes. Researchers say that the dunes, plains and labyrinth terrain have been formed on Titan in a similar manner as on Earth. The surface temperature is about minus 180 degrees Celsius and people would need to wear respirators to breathe oxygen, since the atmosphere is mostly nitrogen. The light on Titan is a little dim, just like after a sunset here on Earth. So staying on Titan won't be a reality anytime soon, but Titan is the most hospitable extraterrestrial world within our solar system. It is like Earth in a parallel universe where things are different yet so similar.
You are watching India Today.
Welcome back. Cryptos have been in free fall for past several days now, with Bitcoin plummeting below $30,000 yesterday. While cryptos have recovered slightly since the fall, investors are jittery about the risky asset. So what should crypto investors do in a volatile market? Business Today's Akanksha Chaturvedi had a word with crypto expert Kashif Raza about what investors should do during this dip. Listen into an excerpt of that conversation.
So talking about investors, so what should investors do? Like you're saying, there's a lot of panic selling that's happening in the markets. So should investors fall to this panic or should they hold for long term?
So Akanksha, my honest opinion is that, whenever an investor is entering into the market, most of the projects other than Bitcoin are still experiments. You cannot say that all the projects other than Bitcoins have achieved what they wanted to achieve. Most of them are experiments. Most of them will get tested. At the end of the day, these are technologies. Akanksha, when the Web 2 was born, when the internet was born, there were 457 IPOs during that time. People actually, they were very excited about this new tech, about internet, and 457 companies they entered into this space. But after 2 years, only 76 were there, and today we see that out of the 457, only 4 to 5 exist till date. Now, what is happening in Web3 also? There are many projects that are only experiments. So, for any investor, first they need to realize that they do not need to invest their 100% money in only one project, and because all these projects are getting tested. Solana got tested, Polygon got tested, Luna got tested, Tron got tested, Ethereum got tested. All these will go through these hard times. Only Bitcoin is the one that has seen the test of time. The biggest test of Bitcoin was when China banned, Bitcoin mining. So investors need to realize, and investors need to be very careful. Before they enter into the market, the substantial amount need to go into Bitcoin. And then those blue chips, the important projects that exist, they need to figure out and do their research before putting in their entire money. But if they are not sure about it, and if they do not have time, so the safest bet today is to enter only Bitcoin and Ethereum. Other than that, they should be very careful before entering into this market.
Now, in an attempt to move toward a more robust governance framework ahead of its planned IPO, Bharat Pay Board had recommended several measures, including termination of several employees and vendors and filing criminal cases against them for misconduct. Bharat Pay had initiated a corporate governance review in January, hoping to soothe investor worries over a public spat involving personal investments by one of its co-founders. Leading Fintech platform also initiated necessary action against the company's former founder, Ashnil Grover, to claw back his restricted shares as per the shareholders' agreement and taking all steps to enforce its right under the law. Leading multi-specialty pediatric and gynecology hospital chain Rainbow Children's Medicare made a lackluster debut on Dalal Street. The stock listed at 510 rupees per share on the NSE. That's a discount of 6% to the issue price. The maiden public issue fetched the company over 1,500 crores, of which 280 crores will be utilized for debt redemption and setting up of new hospitals. My colleague Sakshi Batra had a word with Chairman and MD of Rainbow Group. Listen in.
The shares have listed on a discount. So what would you attribute this to? We've also seen a mixed response to the IPO. We saw QIB portion getting very, very strong performance vis-a-vis the retail portion. Could you give us a sense of why this muted listing?
So it's a healthcare company. It's a children's hospital. It's perhaps the first children's hospital company which is gone for the listing. So therefore, probably there may be some understanding, and people who have kind of seen and gone through our business, they know it. I think our children's healthcare is much required, number one. Number two is that what we have delivered over the last 10 years' time, exceptional financial results. And our growth parameters been good, except in the pandemic year. I think the company overall, the prospects looking great. So in terms of today's, I think whether it's kind of opening low and those things, is probably related to kind of a market volatility and those things. That wouldn't worry me too much about it.
Okay, understood that. Now, you raised 280 crores via the fresh issue this time around. How would you be using these funds in terms of growth for the company?
So we have the expansion plans about 500 beds to do in the next 3 years' time. So 170 crores of these proceeds from the primary is going to go for expansions in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, and NCR. And we have 200 crores on the balance sheet that also goes for supports the expansion process. Second thing is about we have 41 crores in CDs and debts to CDC, which is going to be paid. Some the 70 plus crores are going to be general corporate purposes. So it's essentially, we do have a kind of cash on the balance sheet. So with the primary rise now that we have enough cash to do our expansions without any debts.
Absolutely. Also help us understand, sir, what are the growth opportunities in the pediatric space, which is your main focus? How big is the market right now in India, and what's the outlook going forward?
I think of what we have seen in so far, we started as a 100-bed, 50-bed children's hospital. In Hyderabad today, we have about 730 beds, and we are needing more beds. So that indicates that every city requires a larger children's healthcare footprint. So we not only do just a basic children's healthcare, we also do a children's multi-specialties.
Right.
Whether it's cardiac or neurology or gastroenterology, any other problems. And also we do significant number of deliveries, because what we believe in is the best place to have a childbirth is a children's hospital. So they can hand over to the pediatrician, so in the children's hospital. So this concept has been kind of hugely successful in Hyderabad.
Okay.
And very well in Bangalore, and also done well in Chennai, and we are doing well in New Delhi. What we believe is that how we have done in Hyderabad, like a hub and spoke model. So that is to address the larger needs of the city. We would like to replicate the similar structure in Bangalore, which is tracking well, in New Delhi, as well as Chennai city. So this is how we're going to look at our expansion process, where we are not taking the huge risk going into the newer geographies.
Okay.
Luxury car maker Audi saw a stellar 2021, logging in growth of 101% in sales. In an exclusive chat with Business Today TV's Gautam Adani, head of Audi India, Balbir Singh Dhillon, said that Audi is bullish on EVs and owing to rising commodity prices, a price hike will be undertaken soon. Listen in.
Tell us about the whole electric vehicle ecosystem. The government on its part is, of course, doing what needs to be done and pushing for it harder. Audi e-tron has been great in demand. A lot of celebrities, in fact, have also started buying into Audi e-tron. And of course, we've been also very bullish on production of electric vehicles in India. Tell us about the performance of Audi e-tron and how's it really going?
Well, you're absolutely right. We are very bullish on electric mobility in the country. And you can see, you read the news on an everyday basis where not only the government is trying their best, but also the industry is also taking their first steps into this electric mobility. And as I always say, electric mobility will not be successful overnight. It's a journey that we have to tread together, and very, very strong journey. And believing that, we launched already 5 cars last year. And this year we will run these cars for the full year, because we launched these cars only in the second half of last year. And from the time we have launched these cars, we are doing extremely well. In fact, most of the cars that we are able to import, as we are importing all of these cars, they're already pre-sold. So this is the kind of potential that we have.
I want to ask you, how's the outlook for the year going ahead, and if there are any possible hikes that you'll be undertaking?
So yes, we have taken a 3% up to 3% price increase from 1st April. And as you know, commodity prices are going up, and partly also because of exchange rates. So all these things do impact. Even shipment costs are becoming more and more expensive. So I do see in the times to come, potentially we may have to take another price increase in the coming months. No doubt.
What is the timeline for the price hike? I mean, another 2 months, another quarter? What can the viewers and your possible customers expect before they go and buy the prices, the vehicles at old prices?
And normally what we do is, whenever there's a price increase, we do get back to media. Through media, we are able to reach out to our customers, and we give them sufficient time if they want to prepone their purchase. So at this point in time, I can't say that it's going to happen immediately in a month or so. We will wait for some time. We've just taken 1 price increase. We cannot be that in the next 3 months we again do it. So I think somewhere in the second half of this year, we will see. We will always try not to pass on the price increase, but if it goes beyond a point, then we'll have to partially pass on to the customers. So let us see when it happens. But I can't say when, but it's not coming immediately.
That's all we could pack into this edition of Business Today. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.